So this lesson is all about being a disruptor. When we think about moving the needle in culture, in society, in art, in time, it doesn't necessarily, no one's trying to be provocative. No one I hope, no one's intentionally trying to be artistic or trying to be great. They're just doing, they're just existing. They're just using what they have and using that as a way to release. That's what art is. And so as we look at, so many different art forms, I just feel like it's always a sign of the times. It's the voice of the people. As we look at this summer, this previous summer, there were so many uprisings. I don't like to say riots, uprisings. And a lot of people were like, oh no, that's the voice of people who are marginalized, people who are silenced, who are unheard. And the same thing is adjacent to art. So as we look at, how to be a disruptor, being a disruptor doesn't always happen with your hands. For me, being a disruptor and at my level of the game, it's using my voice and sacrificing, being able to say, I may lose everything if I tell the truth, or if I tell it like it really is, like I'm doing now, and I have been, but it's okay for me because I don't feel like you can take anything away from me anymore. And so that, that confidence I had to work up to. It wasn't something I was allotted. No one's allotted that sense of that freedom. I don't come from generations of parents who had it, but I know that I'm standing on something that is equitable and I'm standing on truth. I'm telling the truth. And most of the greatest artists, if you really think about it, if you close your eyes and think about the greatest artists, musicians, people who we think about, who we're listening to generation after generation, they were truth tellers. They were honest. They were telling an honest story about a love they had with a woman or a man, or how someone broke their heart, or how they lost it all, or whatever that looks like. Look at Basquiat. I mean, look at Madonna, look at Beyonce. All of these people are singing or talking about something they felt, something they feel. So what are you doing with these feelings? And so the goal, hopefully, you're taking away from this lesson with me personally, is to use your art or your voice to make people feel something. And so even if I can't make them feel something literally, or if they don't know they feel something, I'm keying everything up in our business on a different level in boardrooms so that people are actually benefiting from me being in the space. The only reason I'm here is to do something with the allowance that I was given. And I was given some allowance by the universe, by God, by my mama. We haven't had our reparations. We haven't had our just due. We haven't had what we deserve in society for leaving so much of ourselves on society. I mean, this country is built off of this planet. Where would this planet be without blackness? Period, guys. Come on, think about that for a second. As I look at the contributions that the Black community has given the world, it's so vast. And I mean, if you look at the continent of Africa, how rich it is below the soil and how rich it is above the soil. That's why we were colonized. If you look at how much impact we have when we take anything and we just put our spin on it, it becomes an automatic commodity. But we don't need to necessarily look for the appreciation any longer. And so the thing is as long as there's a society that revolves around wanting everything that I just had, everything that I just discovered, in that is solace. In that should be some sense of self. In that should be some knowing that it's okay for me to jump into new territories, to do other things. I see a lot of young talent get in the business and just wanting to run with the wind, or just create new things. You have to know what came before you. You have to be trained on things that, like the way a garment is created, what happened in the 60s, what was revolutionary before you were here? Do you know what happened before social media? Do you know what was polarizing in society, what made front page news in fashion or beauty or in your business pre, our era? Those things are tools that you can use, and this is a podium you can stand on to either disrupt or change. In order to go into the future with something completely iconic and revolutionary, you have to understand where it started. And if you want to change a formula or a mechanism, you have to understand the dynamics or the orchestra or how it's created. So understanding how this business is created, who it was created with and upon, you can go into the future and just kind of fuck it up. Really important point here, you have to be versatile. So versatility is how I got here. I was able and able today to do red carpets, to do stadium shows, which are like massive World Cup size arenas, and then also do catwalks and cover stories. They're all different disciplines. They all live in novel directions. They're all different clients who are looking for a different thing from one artist. So being versatile, having the knowledge to know, hey, I can be on this side of town and I can give LA everything it needs, but I can go to Paris and give Paris everything it needs, and then run to South Africa and do the same thing. And no one doesn't think, or no one realizes that I'm not quintessentially the essence of where I am. And so that takes a little bit of time. It takes knowing yourself, and it takes a lot of knowledge, just knowing the business, studying. So I studied so many different directions of lighting. So I can sit with a director and I can speak lighting possibly more vast than they can. I studied lighting because I needed to, because my career depended on it. And all these different things, having that knowledge outside of your business. So as I'm sitting at a production meeting, I want to talk about lighting, I want to talk about film. What does this look like? How many people are going to be in the audience if this is a stadium? What time of day is it if it's an outdoor event like the Super Bowl was during the golden hour? I mean, there's so many different things. Is this red carpet that my client is going to go to, is it covered? Is it going to rain that day? Do you have any idea of the destination? Who's the photographer? What is the venue? So there's so many different things that happen to go into these decisions we make when we make them. But you have to have these decisions. You have to know some of this kind of stuff. And then, guys, this goes back to knowing your worth. And then when you know these things, then you're like, of course, I'm asking for what I'm asking for. The hope I have for the future of this business and the youth or the people who are my age who are still in it and who want to make some moves is that we've allowed fashion and beauty to lead us. We've allowed Hollywood to lead us, and we've been led. Guys, it's time for these areas to politely take a seat. It's okay. It's okay for fashion to take a seat now. It's okay for the beauty industry to take a seat and be led by society, be led by the youth. I look at Gen Zers and how they revolutionize change in community, how they organize marches and rallies in a way that is equitable for their future. They care about things that my generation didn't. Like, is this air going to be breathable air for my children? Well, can I drink the water later in life? If I buy this brand, will it aid in our carbon emissions? So all of these things are making our future a more equitable future. Everything you need is right there. And when I say that, everything you need within your community, this is a different day. This is the information age. Everyone has social media. Everyone has a megaphone. When you look at Instagram, ladies and gentlemen, that's an editorial. That's your Vogue. That's your Essence. That's your Time magazine right there. Show the world what you want in your space, in your own house. Don't want to wait for someone to hire you. Create your own content. So I don't need for Allure to contact me, even though I love the girls at Allure. Shout out to Allure. I don't need these magazines to call me. I'm going to create the content myself and put it on my social media page, and then they'll pick it up. And that's the beauty of the place that we're in right now, is that you don't necessarily need anyone to tell your story. No one should be your narrator or the champion or gatekeeper for you. Like, why? Why are you waiting for someone to hire you when you can build your own? That's what we've seen done all around us, so why aren't we taking a little bit of that initiative? If you have an idea, get in front of the idea. If you feel like, hey, I have a different perspective of how this should be displayed in terms of a garment or a sound or music, create your own music, create your own platforms. Create your own way for people to view the things that you need to be seen. Why not? Right now is the time to be a disruptor. If no other time, if everyone has always told you to be good, behave, be polite, sit up straight, we have manners, yes, be diplomatic. I'm diplomatic AF, But guys, it's okay to act up and for a good cause. And when I say act up, speak out. Make sure that your voice is loud. Make sure that people listen. And if they're not listening, make sure everyone around them is listening so they're the only one not listening. And what that looks like is being on the front lines. That looks like, I'm gonna keep it real. I'll tell you guys, 2020 changed my life when it came to activism and speaking up and being afraid. Am I gonna lose it all? Am I gonna lose all my contracts, all my licensing deals, all the celebrity clients, all this cool fashion stuff that seems glamorous? Will they all turn their backs on me if I speak up for Black lives with a capital B? When you're at that point, when you're really hitting the road to where you need to be and you're anchored in that space, it doesn't matter. I was having a conversation with Jesse Williams earlier, and that sacrifice, he lost a lot in the war. When I say the war of talking and being a truth teller. When you're telling the truth, listen, there's going to be a lot of shadows behind you when the light is in your face. So all I'm saying is just get in front of the message. Get in front of the message. What does that look like? Use your whatever voice you have, whether it be social media, instead of just taking silly novel stories, hanging out with friends, turning up all the time. What is the narrative that you're setting? What are you saying now that's going to live on? Are you saying anything now that's important enough to remember in 5 years? Like, will anybody remember it? So is anybody remembering what you are saying now? And if it doesn't have to be with your mouth, it can be with your hands, it can be with your artistry, it can be with your dance, it can be with anything you do, any space you occupy, but make sure it's memorable and it does something to change someone else's life. If you take anything away from this episode, it's about change is not easy. growth is not easy. Dismantling something is not easy, but it brings growth. And in order to build things and to make amazing things happen, you need to break ground. You need to break ground first before you can build on it. You have to stand for something greater than yourself.